The big thing in the heavyweight division throughout the month was the debut of Kurt Hennig.
Now that guy.
Because Scott Hall missed a bunch of these shows because he had personal issues at home, which are varied. According to Jerry's book, he was having issues with custody of his children. But when Scott Hall does show up on these shows on the October 23rd show, he doesn't seem like the same razor sharp Scott Hall that he was at the early days of TNA.
Which is funny because it's only been like a few months.
Yeah, like he's slurring his words in his promo. He looks just out of it.
Yeah, and he looks worse too, like physically.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, he still actually has a pretty good match with Ron Killings for a guy who does not look entirely there anymore. And it's a shame because, like, we saw the side of Scott Hall that everyone always wants to see. You know, the guy who is like a truly great wrestler, a much better wrestler than the vast majority of other wrestlers.
And then we saw the other side of Scott Hall.
Yes, the side of Scott Hall that his demons are perhaps catching up with him again. But yeah, you got Kurt Hennig, who's in a weird place in his life. Kurt Hennig cuts a promo on the, I believe it's the October 16th show. He cuts a promo where he does the "I'm the guy who took down Brock Lesnar at 35,000 feet" line. And it's actually quite cool because, like, why not? Do those shoot promos on these shows, I don't care. Unlike the AEW Twitter account we mentioned earlier, I'm fine with taking shots at other companies.
These are the 7 reasons TNA sucks. Too many shots at WWE.
Kurt Hennig coming out because, like, this is October 2002. Kurt Hennig passes away in February 2003, and like when you see him on these shows and when you look at him and you can see how like puffy his face is and how, again, similar to Scott Hall, he's not as bad as Scott Hall, but he just doesn't look entirely well here, does he?
He looks a little rough.
And it's nice to have the star power because I think the show needs it. And it's nice to have a little month where he has a couple title matches against Rocket. Neither of them are very good at all. They're actually quite bad. But I think that's the saddest thing about watching him in this era. Like anything after like the end of his peak in the WWF. Because you watch him during his peak and he is like legitimately one of the best wrestlers of all time. Like he does that bumping and feeding heel better than I think literally anybody else ever has. So when you watch him in this era where he's basically doing nothing.
Yeah.
It's not even that he's bad. It's not even that he's falling over the place. Nothing happens in his matches. So
they're just kind of boring. Yeah,
it's just boring matches where nothing happens. But he's a welcome bit of star power while he's here.
Yeah. He has a cool... that's one thing we can mention that we haven't brought up yet. There's a series of really cool Mike Tenay sit-downs on this month.
Yeah, it's their new format where he has a sit-down interview with Scott Hall, he has a sit-down interview with Sean Waltman, he has a sit-down interview with Kurt Hennig, and it's usually like, hey, let's go over the past, let's talk about your narrative, your story, let's sit weirdly close to each other in the case of the Sean Waltman one. they're like, he's literally sitting on top of Sean Waltman.
He did love Sean Waltman.
Yeah, those promos with Mike Tenay, they're good ideas. They're always what, like, I think everyone says, like, AEW should be doing with Jim Ross. Those kind of like sit-down interviews that add depth to the characters and use the gravitas of the likes of Mike Tenay or the likes of Jim Ross to elevate the stories and elevate the wrestlers. It works.
Yeah, 100%.
As we go through what else happened in the heavyweight division, Killings was mostly tied up with Mr. Perfect, but there was the reoccurring Mr. Wrestling 3 story, Liam.
This is my description of this. Rehashing the Bullet Bob stuff with a heel Klansman.
If you remember, at the end of September, we mentioned that Vince Russo pitched a KKK story with Ron Killings.
Oh, I forgot that this thing was actually supposed to be a Klansman. I just thought it was a dude that looked like a Klansman.
And there's a quote in the PW Torch at the start of the month after the October 2 pay-per-view and Mr. Wrestling 2 debuts. The verbiage scripted by Vince Russo regarding the racist aspects of the opening show on October 2 was toned down considerably once Jerry Jarrett and the wrestlers involved got through with it. Quite a bit would have to be rewritten anyway, because Russo originally scripted the opening of a promo to involve Hall, who was not available. Ron Killings is said to be resigned to having to do the racist storyline, even though he's not crazy about it.
Also the fact that, like, every single fucking story he's done so far has had some sort of racial overtone or undertone.
Even when he weirdly turned babyface for a few weeks and then turned heel again.
Well, that doesn't count because everyone does that shit.
He doesn't feel he has the seniority to speak up against it. There was a lot of disgust expressed in many circles that TNA officials tried to say with a straight face that the person attacking Killings wearing all white wasn't meant to have KKK undertones. And we know from Jerry's book, Vince Russo expressly pitched a KKK story. The defense they had for the angle repeated to several people was, just wait until it plays out before.
I hate this. I hate this attitude of just wait till it plays out. Like,
yep.
just no. Like, I get, like, you know, you can do nuance, but Jesus Christ, not in this particular case, but also it's like a lot of time you can't start off fucking badly and then go, wait till it plays out. Start off strong and go, alright, let's see how it goes. Like, it's frustrating.
But yeah, for them to do something, again, if you remember from Jerry's book, he expressly pitched a KKK story and then had a man in all white jump Ron Killings. Now, you can deny all you want, but this is the man who's getting the ear of Panda Energy.
Old Grand Wrestling 3 over here.
Oh, dear, dear, dear. Yeah, so most of the title matches ended with Mr. Wrestling 3 interfering in some way. It wasn't particularly good, who cares? But that's the story they're telling through the month. They didn't do the reveal until the following month.
Who could it be?
Well, it's Steve Armstrong, if you're wondering who's playing it. Which, by the way, is the same person who played the Bullet before it was revealed to be PG James.
Gosh, I just wonder who it's going to be revealed as.
Yeah, we'll never know.
I mean, we will when we watch the show.
Well, yes, I think that's November. Yeah, surely. They don't stretch that out for a whole other month. If they did, that would be madness.
Yeah, that would be madness.
There's many things that are madness.